Have you had that experience yourself, maybe in the creative process, that maybe a producer wanted to take you somewhere where you felt uncomfortable, or?
It's been an eternal struggle ever since the first early days. I mean, long before Entropia, we'd go into a studio. I mean, this was the 80s. You'd go into a studio, and the technicians, of course, want to give you the snare with the gated reverb, you know, that. And if you didn't want that, they would actually go, well, but this is the good snare sound. I mean, we can give you another snare sound, but it's going to be bad. You know, anything else than this is going to be worse. And the funny thing is, that's how it's been all through the years. Every era has its truths. And the funny thing is how how the technicians of studios can do this over and over again. Like in the 80s, they'd go like, you know, the 70s sound was, I don't know. But now, finally, we've approached and we've arrived at the best sound. It's here now. Like the 50s, 60s, 70s, we were just trying to get to this point. Now we're done. And this is it. This is the truth. This is the best sound. And then in the 90s, of course, like, the 80s sound is crap. You know, they have way too little compression. Look at this. We have compression for you. And then it's like anything you want to do that's out of the ordinary context of your certain decade when you're recording it, you will have to kick and scream for having done, really. I mean, I guess looking back at The Perfect Element, you'd say that it's a typical sort of, it's a wall of sound production in many ways that was really, really popular a few years later in 2006, 2007. But back then, this is 2000. Back then it was extremely hard to get that sound because no one really.
The engineers wouldn't let you maybe, or they protect their domain in the studio.
Yeah, they were trying, but like if you asked for certain things, I remember vividly asking like, couldn't we use the master output, you know, and just run that through the compression at that point so we can like move it down and up? No, you can't do that. You know, that can't be done. You know, you don't do that. You know, if you listen to any Foo Fighters material, that's exactly what they're doing all the time. They're just like taking away 3 dB on all the verses, so you'll have that extra 3 dB for the chorus. You know, without changing the overall intensity of music, except for that sort of like master shift. When we got back to the studio 2 years later, they were doing that for all productions.
So you were ahead of your time, maybe too much.
Well, or really, really late, maybe. It's either way. I mean, we're making sort of like 70s oriented music. We've done that for the last few years. So we could just be way, way late too. I don't know. Either way, we're out of time constantly.
Yeah, I read in another interview, I think it was before the last 2 records, that you had a moment of, an unstable moment maybe, where you also doubted the continuation or your belief in the band.
Yeah.
Is it important to have that at some point, or at some points maybe just to step back a little bit and zoom out on what you're actually doing?
I get it like every once in a while, like, but not that often, not more than like once a week or twice a week. No, I think it's important, but it's like someone tells you that it's, you know, well, it's developing you as a character, you know, and you go like, I don't want to develop anymore if this is it, you know. And I think that's the main thing. I mean, you need those. I think you need to question yourself. You need to question your position. You need to question where you're heading, where you're coming from. All that you need to sort of like put into perspective, you know, every once in a while. But of course, every time doing that will be pretty draining and straining in so many ways. So you don't want it too often.